potential recruiting. The girls are on campus now. How's everything going? And I guess this build up from summer to now.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously we ended pretty abruptly, but so summer was a lot longer than usual. You know, we didn't see the girls or really, I mean, we did Zooms with them as much as we could, but we also wanted to, give them space because they were obviously going through a tough time, and so were we. So honestly, summer was super long. Like I told you, just being productive with lessons and things like that. But so the girls are back on campus. You know, we had to follow protocol, get tested before. If they were out of state, obviously they had to quarantine. You know, kind of crazy with that. But everyone, all the kids are on campus. Everyone's good and healthy. So if all goes as planned, we'll be able to practice this Monday or Tuesday, the 14th. So as a coaching staff, and I know the kids, we're all super excited to kind of get to see each other. The thing that's a little different, obviously, is you can't really be in big groups still yet. So everything is kind of working its way up. So right now we're kind of put the kids in pods. So our girls are, in pods, typically kind of with their grade, groups of around 10. And then that's kind of the way we'll practice, just little group sessions is kind of what we're going to be doing. But our team's huge right now because 10 out of our 11 seniors came back. So we have, I believe, 47 kids on the team right now.
I was just about to ask that. And 47 kids. So was it, do you have to go about cutting people, or is it, I mean, it's a tough situation. What is that like?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we couldn't predict this, and our incoming freshmen are great. There's 10 of them, or 11. Big class too. So between the 10 incoming and then the 10 that stayed, obviously that added on. But no, we didn't cut anybody. That wasn't really our plan or our goal to do. The only difference is just, the ACC kind of puts a limit on how many people you travel. So that's just kind of going to be a little bit tough, when we get down that road. So.
Right. So will this trickle down, or is it after this year, if all goes well, and hopefully it does, but you lose 2 classes, essentially, the super seniors and the seniors?
Well, no, because every class was granted an extra year. Right. So we're hoping and planning that some of our kids, stay for their 5th year. Because they all have that extra year of eligibility as of now.
Because I guess last year, and I think Syracuse has been known for this. I know on the men's side that, like, if you don't play the freshman year, they want you to redshirt so you can be a lot of 5th years. Is that same on the girls' side?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think last year we had 4 5th years, 4 or 5. So now we have some super seniors. I think we have 2 6 years now, 3 6 years. Kind of crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of those kids who are now 5th years redshirted their freshman year. Yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy. It's a good way to do it though, because then they get a better opportunity to play. So.
Yeah, for sure.
To get on the field, number one. So you've been at Syracuse for, I guess, a year and some change and some days, I guess. What was that jump like from being down at Florida? Did you want to get into coaching right away? How did that sort of stem?
No, it's actually kind of a funny story. I mean, I'm such a lax rat. Obviously, I love lacrosse. I've done lessons since I've been in, high school. But I'm such a planner, and I need to, know what I'm doing with my life. So I applied for graduate school for speech pathology, actually. Got in on Long Island at Post, and I was set to go, got my schedule, got my classes, everything. And then I was literally in the airport on my way to Greece for 2 weeks, and Gary called me. And he was like, do you want to come up for a visit? Are you interested in coaching? And I was like, no. I was like, where did this come from? And then it's freaking Gary Gates, so obviously that's an amazing opportunity in itself, even if I didn't take it. So 2 days later, after I got back from Greece, actually on my birthday, I flew up here. I just toured everything again, which was so weird because I got recruited here too. So I was basically doing that same tour that a recruit would do with him. And then I was like, you know what? I can't and I was so heartbroken from my senior season ending, I was not ready to let go of lacrosse. I mean, obviously I'd pro, but I wanted to be like very involved and interact a little bit more. So I was like, I'm just going to do it. So I ended up taking the job, deferring at post. I took some classes at Q's last year for both semesters, and then I was like, I love coaching so much. And so now I'm here still.
How did you what was your like initial relationship with Gary that he like kind of reached out to you with the opportunity?
So I've always known him from, first being recruited. He recruited my sister and I both. My sister's a year older than me. We both went to Florida, but he recruited both of us. And then, so I'm from a small town on Long Island called Mount Sinai. We actually have 4 kids from Mount Sinai right now on the team. And my head coach at Mount Sinai is super close with Gary and then Reggie, who is the other assistant at the time. So I believe Gary kind of just reached out to my head coach. And we also knew each other because Florida played Syracuse every year. So we kind of just always saw each other at one point or another, and even in the summer and things like that. So he reached out to my high school coach and then kind of went from there.
Was there anything that you think that kind of stuck out with yourself besides being a great player always that kind of led to that bridge of you getting the opportunity to continue to coach, or anything that you think your coach at Florida kind of gave a good reference to you about to Gary, or anything like that that kind of stuck out that you'd be a great candidate as a coach outside of just a player?
Yeah, so I'm a very I guess not bossy, but I take that on that leadership role. I always have since I was little. And I feel like it's pretty dominant on the field, and it's pretty noticeable. So I think that he's seen that in me and see that I can, people respect me and respect what I say. And, I've always been one that can connect with kids all the time. Even, like I keep referring back to, but, lessons in the summer, I've just always connected with these kids and the parents and always been able to kind of get through to all of them. And it was kind of the same thing with my teammates, whether they played, they were a sideline player, whatever it was, I was just able to connect with them and kind of mend and build relationships with everybody. And, I think that kind of showed on the field. So, I've taken on that leadership role, and I think, even at Syracuse now, I connect with these kids. I mean, it might be because I'm young like them, but I think he was also looking for somebody to connect with his players a little bit more. He always says, I'm an old guy, like I don't know how to fully connect with these young women like you guys can. So I think he was kind of looking for somebody to kind of fill that role and be more of a mentor and help these kids and connect with them on a different level. Because it was Gary and then Reggie was the other one. So 2 guys right there. And then Caitlin, of course, is awesome. Caitlin DeFelice is the associate head coach now. But I think, that was another thing that he was looking for, to kind of connect with these girls a little bit better.
Right. You definitely need that bridge, whether in guys or girls. For you, did that leadership start at an early age? And did that stem from just being sort of maybe the dominant player on the field? Or was that just you through and through, you want to be more vocal?
Yeah, I mean, even growing up, we always joke about it. Like, my sister's older than me, but I kind of always took on that, like, bossy leadership role. I was always confident in sports, and I don't know, I just connected with people. But it's funny because I was a gymnast growing up my whole life, like a full-on competitive gymnast, would go to practice before school, after school, the whole 9 yards. So I was never really fully in that team sport. I did soccer, but I mean, I could only play once a week. I missed all the practices. I just went to the games. And in soccer, I definitely took on that role as well, just from just being a dominant player in the sport, not really because of any role I had to play. Because in gymnastics, I mean, you're on a team, but it's all individual. So it's kind of hard, to be a leader when you're only against yourself in that sense. But I mean, my parents, raised me to be, a confident person. And I think it's my personality, honestly. I'm just very vocal and confident, and kind of I don't get scared, to say what I feel and, speak the truth. And I think that's what has gained respect and kind of made me into that leadership role.
That's awesome. You mentioned Gary kind of wanting to bring you in, not just as a coach, but as like a mentor to these kids as well. When you were growing up, you said it's kind of just always in your personality where you're just confident in everything. But did you have any mentors growing up, whether it be athletes or outside of athletics, that kind of really influenced you and kind of set the standard for you, where it's like, okay, like this person's a great leader, I want to be like them, and just kind of anyone that you kind of leaned on and just looked up to in that sense before you got to college?
I mean, growing up, I came from a very competitive family. My dad played football and baseball at Albany. My mom, she's not really athletic, she says she is. But my brother, my sister, and I, we all play lacrosse. We all grew up playing sports. So I think my dad kind of just shaped me into being that, respected player person. Just by, like, honestly, example from him, I'd cry over something stupid, and he would be the guy to be like, you don't get to cry or feel bad for yourself. Like, you need to figure it out and, get better. So I think he was a mentor in how to build my character and kind of take my character and put it into a player aspect. I had great coaches. When I first started lacrosse, I had a great coach, Pete Mitchell. He kind of shaped me into the player I am today, because I kind of sucked at lacrosse at first. I kind of just got thrown into it. And he kind of just took me under his wing and just taught me the game, taught me, how to be the player I am using my strengths. Because I really had no stick skills, didn't understand the game. I was thrown into it just because I quit gymnastics and I wanted to do something else. So he just taught me how to use my strengths and, kind of go from there. But yeah, I've just grown up in a positive environment, and I've had great positive coaches and, family. So I think that's really what it is. It's not really a specific, player, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And then what were those like early strengths that kind of translated to lacrosse right away before the stick skills kind of came to fruition and everything?
And what'd you say, Connor?
And at what age was that as well?
So I started gymnastics when I was 2, and then I did gymnastics all the way up till I was 12 at a super competitive gym. I was going up to level 10, which is the highest level you could be at. Like I said, before practice, after practice, 2 days in the summer. I was, 4th and 5th grade. I had no social life, and it was just gymnastics, conditioning in the morning, practice 3-4 hours at night, and the things we had to do made me so athletic. I've always been fast, and I have kind of that muscular build from my dad, but gymnastics just kind of escalated that. I mean, you walk into the gym, the first thing you have to do is 2 rope climbs, 30 pull-ups, 30 V-ups, 30 push-ups, just constant. So I think that kind of made me into the athlete I am today. So transferring over, when I quit gymnastics, my dad was kind of like, well, you got to try something else. So I was like, all right, I'll try lacrosse. I played for 2 weeks in this little indoor facility. We did winter games. And then 2 weeks later, there was, I don't know, you guys familiar with Yellow Jackets, the club team? No. It's just a big club on Long Island. So we had club tryouts, and I was like, I'm not going, I'm not ready, I don't know how to play. And my dad was kind of like, you're going. So I went. I couldn't even catch with my left hand. I don't even think I could cradle with my left hand at the time. And the only reason, so that there's an A team, B team, C team. So the only reason I ended up making the A team was because you had to do a 50-yard sprint, and I got the fastest time. So my coach that kind of helped me be the player I am today was like, I want her. She's fast, she's strong, she's athletic. We'll figure out the rest. So he just threw me on defense because, I guess that's the position that you'll probably won't have the ball the most. So I played defense for 2 years, and I just worked on my stick every single day, to the point where like my dad would start videotaping me because I was like, I cannot catch the ball lefty. I don't know why. He'd whip out the video camera. He'd show me what I'm doing wrong. So I just kind of took 2 years to really understand the game, you know, get my stick skills up, learn how to shoot, learn how to dodge the correct way. And then 2 years later, 8th grade, I became a midi, and I've been a midfielder since. So it was a process for sure, but the athleticism was kind of the saving grace for me.
Right. I always talk about to kids, it's like to get yourself on the field, you got to have good stick skills. But obviously, if you're the best athlete, that helps you get on the field as well. I guess you said you had one sister. Is it another brother? Or
yeah, I have a younger brother.
Older sister?
Mm-hmm.
So did she start playing lacrosse? What made you sort of stick to lacrosse and want to practice it and focus on it more? Was it your sister? Was it another mentor that you looked up to? Or?
No, so my sister was kind of in the same boat as me. We both were competitive gymnasts. She quit like a couple months before me and got into lacrosse. So yeah, I guess it was her. But no, I played my first winter league game. I was terrible, but I loved it. Like, I absolutely loved it. All my school friends started to play lacrosse too, so I was like, why not do it? So I played in my first game, and I was like, this is my sport for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. So where did you start to separate because of all those extra hours? Was that your dad filming you? All that practice, and you started to separate yourself at 8th grade, you said?
Yeah, I mean, so as soon as I started lacrosse, I was practicing every day, twice a day, because I just have that personality where, like, I need to be the best, or at least try to be. So I started, in 6th grade was kind of just when I became obsessed with it, and I kind of hit that peak in around 8th grade. For travel. So our travel team was so good. I mean, we all went D1. So I couldn't fill those shoes yet. High school though, we weren't as good at the time. So I actually ended up making varsity in 7th grade. But again, I really wasn't good. I could just run the ball up the field. Like, they literally used me to clear the ball from one end to the other. Like, and then I would just pass it. So
7th grade.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't like that great at the time. I ended up winning 2 state championships, but I think they were just looking for, again, athletic people. And I think that's just a super important part of the game at least an advantage, because not everyone's the most athletic person playing the game, but you utilize your strengths. So I guess they saw the athleticism, and I kind of just rolled with it. I never was the kid to like want to learn how to do a BTB or like not into sticks tricks. Like, that was not me. I was just like, how do I beat my defender the fastest way I can type deal. So
yeah, I asked that because I feel like that's probably a good reason why you can connect with so many people, because at that age you probably struggled and you saw like the benefits of like putting in work and practicing a ton. So what is it that you preach, whether if you look back at if you were 13, what would you tell yourself as from a coach's perspective, from your perspective now, and what do you tell your kids that you coach?
Honestly, I just tell them to do everything they can to try and be the best, and to not, slack off or have regret that you didn't do enough. I think that's my biggest thing is, like, if you're playing the sport at the college level, there's a reason why you're meant to be here. But you can always expand your game, and you can always get better, and there's no time to settle and just, think that what you're doing is enough. And I think, having that mindset, or at least getting my kids to that mindset, is what's going to separate them, even by one game, them being better. And, what I've kind of took in my role at Syracuse is always offering individual lessons, and always, offering to stay for extra reps with them, and anything for them to do things on their own or away from practice. And I always say that to my kids. I'm like, practice isn't enough. Like, we have maybe 2.5 hours, but there's 45 kids on the team. So how many reps are you really getting? And, I always say practice isn't enough. You have to do things on your own if you want to be the best. And if you don't and you're satisfied with where you're at, then okay, because you can't force kids to want to get better, but you can only encourage it and kind of give them the tools to get to that next level. And that was kind of my big thing, you know. And that's because I wasn't good, and I saw myself, you know, progress and get better. And I know it's because I dedicated myself to the sport and put in the time, even when, you know, you don't want to. So.
Did you kind of always feel like you could be really good, like right when you started? Like it wasn't like even before you like right when you started and it just wasn't coming together, didn't have the stick skills. Like, did you kind of always know in the back of your head that you could really do it, or was it there ever like, any moments of doubt when you were like younger with it, or how did you kind of get over that hump to like becoming like a great player like early? Obviously, you're putting a ton of work, but did you always like kind of know in the back of your head you could do it?
Yes, only because I know that I couldn't like leave the sport if I didn't, you know, at least try and be the best. And there, yeah, of course there was doubt. I mean, literally, I remember, I could picture now in my backyard, cannot catch one ball lefty. And I would literally throw my stick and walk away. And then I'd be like, all right, no, I'm coming back. And I'd get back on. But no, I mean, I just had such a good support system. And like my coaches saw something that I didn't when I started. You know, they actually, one of the coaches, actually, his daughter is on Syracuse right now, from my hometown, kind of, you know, reached out to my dad and was like, I want your daughters to play lacrosse. Like, they're so athletic, like we can easily, you know, make them into great players, because we were both gymnasts at the time. So I think people saw things that I didn't, and I kind of just believed and kind of trusted their opinion and knew with, you know, if I continued to work hard and have that work ethic, that I could at least potentially get to that point. So it kind of wasn't an option to ever stop playing.
Was there anything from gymnastics that you continued to do? Like, I've listened to some stuff where people talk about like the gymnastics body, where it's like there's all these different stretches and just like kind of like body weight exercises that are like extremely beneficial to people, like even outside of sports, just like to stay healthy and feel good with their body. Was there anything that you took from gymnastics that you kind of either continued to do or kept in the back of your head, or just continued to apply to lacrosse in any way?
I mean, I think just not like necessarily anything specific, but just kind of the mental side of it. Kind of, you know, at 8 years old, having that mental toughness to perform and be in the gym for 7 hours a day, and, you know, tell me to do 2 backflips off the bar and never done it before, and I have to just do it. Because you're petrified of your coaches in gymnastics. It's just a totally different sport, just on the completely different spectrum. And you just do what they say, even if you don't want to. And I mean, I'm thankful for it, because my mental toughness has gotten me so much farther than I ever thought it could. So on that side of things, mentally, gymnastics completely made me the athlete I am today. And then just, you know, the workouts and the length of them and everything that you have to do, even when, like I said, you don't want to, it made lacrosse seem easy. So.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. And I guess during your journey, was there a moments that maybe you failed, and like we talked about, you just sort of the early on stages, but were there moments that like big time that you learned a huge lesson, whether that was through failure or whether that was just through practice, that sort of led to your success?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, by 9th grade, I was a top player on the island. So I made, you know, all the Under Armour teams, every big tryout that Long Island had, I made the top team. And I was riding this, like, I was never a hot-headed type of person, but I was like, I never really like felt that, oh, like I'm not that good, like I didn't make this team. Because I feel like a tryout, like, it kind of makes or breaks you. Like, you made the team or you don't, and if you don't, you kind of feel like you failed. Again, I never really had that. I've seen it, you know, my sister has, tried out for things and hasn't made it, and I've seen it destroy her. And I was like, I've never actually felt that. Like, I'm so lucky. And then what is it? USA, U15, no, U19 for USA. So I was going through all those tryouts. Obviously it starts with like 300 kids, and then, you do that tryout for like 3 days, twice a day, and then you break down smaller. So I got to the final 25, and this is my senior year, right before lacrosse season started. And like, I just had a bad feeling. Like, I wasn't their, I don't think I was their style type of kid. And all the players were so, so good. That was the first time I felt like, oh crap, like I'm actually not the best at all. And there's so many great kids out there, and everyone's so competitive, and everyone, is just as good as me, if not better. And I ended up getting cut from the final roster, and it completely like destroyed me. I remember like it was after practice, like a winter practice. I got the email, and I was like driving all my teammates home, and I wouldn't get in the car. Like, I didn't want to show them I was crying. I bawled my eyes out in front of my coach. I was like, all right, I'm good. Like, no one talked to me. It is what it is. Since that moment, like, I don't know what it was. I think I just felt the need I wanted to prove people wrong. And because that hit super hard for me. I mean, everybody at my hometown was like, oh, you're going to make it. But, like, they don't know how good everybody else is. And I think I kind of got that, like, I kind of was getting, like, steam blown up in my head. And I was just like, okay, yeah, I'm going to make it. Didn't. And it just completely, honestly, it changed me as a player till this day. What I was doing clearly wasn't enough. So I would, I've always, like I said, been the type of person to stay after practice, do extra reps, like go in my backyard. And it just like escalated from that point. And it was like, I still think about it now, like even in college, if I needed something to like fuel me, I would think about that. So that was definitely like the turning point and like the biggest failure that kind of shaped me as a player.
You talk about fuel and practicing a ton. Was that the lesson you learned, was to, I guess, practice more, or to be more diligent with your practice? How do you sort of fuel that fire?
Yeah, so I mean, like I said before, like the biggest thing that I tell my kids is don't regret not doing enough. And I didn't have that, but I kind of thought, okay, you know what, maybe I need some help. Like maybe I'm practicing the wrong way, or not doing things correctly, or maybe I need to expand my game. So I started, working with the trainer, and I started letting my dad come to the field with me, because my dad's actually super knowledgeable in the sport. But yeah, so that was one thing, was just like, okay, like this is a wake-up call. Like I need to maybe approach the situation or how I'm practicing differently. So I think that was the biggest thing. And just the other part of it was like accepting failure and learning from it, and knowing what I can do to be a better player in mentally. Because like I said, I never really experienced that failure as I got older. Like all the big thing that mattered, I guess, in the sport, I was a part of. So I think, kind of just flipping my mindset almost, and just accepting like, okay, you're not going to be perfect, and you're supposed to have failures, and that's how you grow and get better as a person, and obviously as a player. So I think, switching gears a little bit and kind of getting that wake up call was also, a big factor in where I am today.
So you mentioned kind of like you were always super hard worker, but you kind of felt like you needed to maybe work a little bit smarter versus just pure hard work. Was there anything that you took away from getting cut from that team, or just looking at yourself in the mirror, that you were like, okay, I definitely need to work on this part of my game, and this is how I'm going to do it? Was there anything like what kind of changed? And obviously, like I said, working smarter, but what specifically with your game did you start working on more of, in a more meticulous manner? And like, kind of how did you do that?
Yeah, there's like specifically two things. I mean, I literally only shot high ever, and it just it worked most of the time. But even if it didn't, I just continued to do that. It was just, I guess, just a terrible, terrible habit. So I started, shooting more and learning literally how to fake. Like, I just never, took the time to focus on the details as much. And then the other thing was just, like I mentioned, I'm just very athletic and explosive and fast. So my little righty hitch face dodge and get down to the cage and just run past everybody was just kind of my move. And it worked. But I realized, like, against the top kids and, playing, side by side with them, they can do multiple dodges. They can dodge and redodge. They can fake 3 times and get it in. And I wasn't at that level. I was just such a run and gun, like, muscle through type of player. And I kind of, like, took a step back. I remember saying to my mom, I was like, Mom, I'm actually not good. I'm athletic. I'm not good at lacrosse. And that was kind of like another turning point, was like, okay, I need to have, better stick skills, better dodging, like, all around, just like expand my mind and like be more open-minded to what I can actually do and how much more there is to the game. So that was another thing, just like kind of just incorporating more than, my small frame of what I did.
When you talk about that, were there any players that you really admired and maybe like try to watch a lot of film on and be like, all right, I'm going to try to incorporate this person's move or this person's dodge, but just any players that you looked at and tried to mimic, or was it just really just focusing on yourself and what you knew you could do?
A little bit of both. I was actually thinking about this before the podcast. I was never a person that had like this like sports idol. Like, I wanted to be them, or like I wanted to play just like them. And I think it's because I was so brainwashed to be in an individual sport where it was only me and that was it. So I never really like expanded my mind to other players and things like that. I did watch a lot of film or just highlights on Katie Schwarzman, because she's kind of fast, does the same dodging as me. So I wanted to kind of learn from her a little bit. And then my sister, honestly, I mean, she shoots the ball so unique to everybody else, and I can't do it, but she approached shooting so much differently than me. And she's a lefty attacker, so that in itself is different. I'm a righty midfielder, but just the different way she holds the stick in her hands and, her sidearm, that was always something that I wanted to, expand and try and do, rather than just, my overhand muscle through shooting. So I actually watched her and I learned from her a lot, and it helped me a lot.
What are some specifics with shooting do you work on, like drill-wise, or any sort of little nuanced stuff to help you?
Yeah. So my biggest thing anytime I practice, and I learned this a couple years ago, was not do 30 things and practice 30 different things. I used to do that. So I kind of took a step back, and I would even I bring out a notepad a lot when I practice, because I'll write down what I want to do and kind of draw it out so I can refer back to it. But just first thing is just picking 2, maybe 3 max things that I want to focus on that day. And then I always kind of build into it. So shooting wise, I'll do on my knee shooting, standing shooting, then on the run. And I'll do that like 1,000 times. And I tell my kids that too. I'm like, do 1,000 reps of 1 or 2 things instead of 1,000 reps of 50 different things where you're not focusing on it. So that's a big thing that I do now when I practice, is just 1 or 2, dodges or 1 or 2 different shots, and stick with it and try and perfect it as best you can, or don't leave the field until you perfect it.
Outside of like the skill stuff, did you focus at all on like anything like really like help your body at a certain point, whether it be nutrition or just like your actual working out? And when did you kind of realize that could be an added benefit, and how did that progression kind of look for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, again, referring back to gymnastics, working out has always been a huge part of my life and a part of my success. I'm a complete workout freak. I love it, but I also know how beneficial it is. So in 8th or 9th grade, I started going to a trainer and actually like Olympic lifting, learning how to deadlift, back squat, all that, basic strength work. I always did, what is it called? Speed and agility training ever since I was like young. And then, yeah, I just became obsessed with it. And I'm the type of player that I perform better when I'm faster and when I'm stronger. So even in college during season, a lot of my teammates refused to lift like more than 10 pounds. And I was like always, bumping it up each time because I knew like for me, being stronger and feeling stronger made me a better player and more confident. So working out has always been huge. And then nutrition, I actually didn't really eat good until college. I got diagnosed with celiac disease. It's like when you're gluten-free pretty much. So that kind of forced me to learn about my diet and learn more. And then at Florida, the nutritionists were just so informative and so helpful. And I didn't realize how much, nutrition played a role in how you perform. And then from my freshman year of college, actually getting educated more and learning the do's and don'ts of, a diet as an athlete. That's the difference is, an athlete diet is completely different than anything else. And you guys know that. But at the time I didn't. And since then, yeah, I'm a nutrition and workout freak, honestly. You can ask anybody. That's like my passion other than coaching. But yeah.
That do you coach that to your girls or do you stick to
my players, I like in awe of how they ate. They're like the kids that have the bags of candy before games and begging for McDonald's and Chipotle, and I came in and I was like, no, like this is not how it's gonna work. So I kind of took over the role of what's in the locker room, what are the kids eating before games, like what snacks are they eating. They don't love it, but I kind of took on that role just because I know how important it is, and I try and educate them. I've had a couple kids come up to me and kind of ask them, to help them with their diet and what they should be eating and things like that. Just because, yeah, I do kind of put that on my players a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's huge. I've noticed that honestly until after college. It was like
really
college. It was like just consume calories, try to match whatever you're putting out, same type of deal. Felt good, but then until after college, you started to see your body. You can't do 2 games in a day or 2 games in back to back. So you had to do a little lifestyle change.
Yeah, for sure.
For you, in terms of your personal goals as an athlete. You there? No, thought we lost you.
Yeah, sorry.
It's all good. Your personal goals as an athlete versus your personal goals as a coach. How have those changed in terms of like just connecting with your kids and your players? How has that sort of changed? What do you look for as a coach?
Yeah, I mean, the player coach role was really challenging, but also really cool to kind of go from one role to the other, like kind of right away. I saw things completely differently. And I think the biggest thing that I look for seeing a coach, and I wish I knew this when I was a player, is just how much like your body language and your attitude is shown, and how you don't realize how obvious or how significant it is, or so as a coach I notice all of that. Like I notice right away if a kid is upset or is pouting or whatever it is. So I think the biggest thing that I've seen as a coach player is just like coaches see everything. And like, not that I penalize the girls for it, but it just, I don't know, I guess you just notice everything more and you want to, I don't know. It's very weird even for me now to kind of go from that coaching player coaching role.
but the positive side to it is just I can relate to them and I know what they're going through, and I've been in like their exact shoes. You know, I've had a couple kids struggle, you know, just in games mentally, and that's been my strong suit, is like I can fully relate to them. One, because I was a player, but it's just so recent. Like I still have that player mindset. So I've actually been able to help them because I've been exactly in their shoes, and I've been able to connect with them a little bit more and kind of pinpoint what's going on with them. So it's a positive, but yeah, I've seen a lot more as a coach.
Yeah.
And I'm sure my coaches at Florida saw way more than I thought they did too.
What do you think the negative effect is of having that bad body language? Do you think it's kind of like you just got to fake it till you make it and like stay looking confident, you'll feel more confident? Or do you think it's kind of like if you have bad body language, that's kind of like an opportunity for the other team to kind of attack you and go after you when you're not in your best mental shape? What do you think the biggest negative effects are of that body language stuff?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's in a game situation, like, and I'm sure teams notice it too. It's just, if you have that body language where like you look defeated and upset and giving up, like teams capitalize on that and they eat that up. But on the other side of things is like that, that mental side of it and changing your body language and that mental, thought process it's an opportunity for you to kind of switch your brain of how you're thinking negatively, and an opportunity to catch yourself and make it positive. And that's been the biggest thing with our team, is just switching gears, because, I've been there, you guys have probably been there too, where like you get in this slump, you're playing like shit and you just feel like nothing's going your way and you just like shut down. I've done that.
Yeah.
And then after the game, or even after 5 minutes, I'm like, why am I acting like this? This is ridiculous. And our kids, or really any player, has felt that and gone through that, that negative downward spiral, and you just feel like you can't get out. And for our kids, or what I've been preaching to them at least, is affirmations. I learned this in high school because I was like, I'm my biggest critic, but I also was like mentally just like I would spiral sometimes. And affirmations, just like talking your head, and I would always hype myself up, even if I was literally playing like shit. I'd be like, I'm the best midfielder. I'm the best player on this field. Like, I'm faster than everybody. I'm going to get every ground ball. I'm going to play great defense. Anything like that, just like strict affirmations, is what I did, and what I kind of relate to our kids now is, and I told them, I'm like, write down your 5 or 6 affirmations before the game, read them, visualize it, believe in it. And then when you're on the field, if you feel like you're gunning down into a slump, say one of those affirmations. So that's kind of what I've been teaching my kids, and that's what's been the saving grace for me throughout the years.
That's awesome. Definitely can understand that whole kind of just downward spiral that you can kind of get stuck in a little bit. That's a big reason that we're kind of doing this stuff in the first place, honestly, with just like my personal experience.
Right.
One thing I kind of wanted to circle back on quickly with you mentioned getting diagnosed with like celiacs your freshman year. And I just think I've like heard of our friend Thomas O'Connell, if you know him. He's from Long Island. He went to Chaminade. He played with us in Maryland, but he played 4 years in Maryland, just finished up he did a 5th year playing basketball at St. John's, and he literally just graduated. And after he graduated, saw his doctor, and he got diagnosed with celiacs, and was like, I literally just went 5 years of playing college sports and like drinking beer, eating pizza here and there, literally ruining my body, and you just had no idea. It's like amazing to me, like how many, like just how it's getting more prevalent with just more and more people kind of being gluten-free. How did that come up for you? Was it kind of just like a stroke of luck where kind of you got tested for it or something like that? Or were you feeling kind of shitty eating certain foods? Just kind of what was that experience like for you? Like what was the biggest difference that you noticed, and like before and after?
Yeah. So, ever since I was little, I always had stomach pain, stomach issues, like would cry all the time just because I was in so much pain. I've gone to doctors, everything. But my mom got diagnosed with celiac when she was like 42, 43, like way past, you know. And she always had stomach problems too. So she was like, you know what, you definitely have it. Like, you need to go get tested. So I got tested. It was actually in high school. And that's when I found out. And I took it out of my diet. And because I would go home after school every single day and take a nap for an hour, wake up, and then work out, and then go right back to sleep. Like, I was always tired. I even left school early sometimes to go take a nap. Like, just like tired, sluggish, like my stomach always hurt. And I was just like, I was like a carbaholic. Like, I ate bagels, bread, everything all the time. And then I took it out of my diet. I immediately lost 10 pounds. And then I just felt so much better, way more energy. I just felt like a different person, honestly. And it was 100% because of that. So for your friend who literally had it all 5 years of college, I could not even imagine feeling that way. Yeah. And just like, because it honestly destroys your body if you eat that and you're not supposed to. So that it completely changed my diet and like how I viewed nutrition.
Yeah. Yeah. And then where you're at now, nutrition freak, big passion of yours. What are your kind of staples for like solid nutrition? What are you telling your girls at Syracuse to like really focus on, whether it be just like total calories in and out, like contents of the food? What are kind of like the most important things you think with that nutrition stuff to focus on if you're not serious about it and looking to just kind of get started with it?
Yeah. I mean, being like a crappy eater and then trying to fully transform into a healthy eater is honestly difficult. And I'm not a calorie counter. Like I did that a little bit, and it just forced really unhealthy habits on me. So I don't count calories. I don't focus on, I don't read nutrition labels. The only thing I focus on is like real whole ingredients and real foods. So that's kind of what I tell my kids is like, don't eat like processed crap. Try and get, just fruits, veggies, like good protein, things like that. And then the other thing that I tell my players mostly is just like when to eat certain things, like I think, before games, obviously like carb up a little bit, have a banana, things like that. But yeah, I'm really, really strict on it. Like if the girls were buying like Jif and Skippy peanut butter, sorry if you guys eat that. But like, if you read like the ingredients, I'm sorry, I'm like going into my thing.
No, that's great.
But like, if you look at the ingredients, it's like peanuts, sugar, like palm oil, like it's all inflammatory crap that you're putting in your body. And so like, even at home, I saw Jif in the cabinet when I got home. I was like, this is for the dogs now, or this is going in the trash. So I even I've been teaching like my parents and trying to get through to my brother. But like now I'm like, peanut butter should only have peanuts as the ingredients and maybe salt. And I think like even just that, like just looking at the ingredients and seeing if there's like excess crap that like shouldn't be in there, is kind of what you should be focusing on, because you don't realize how much crap is in stuff. And like, right. The biggest thing for me is like the inflammation. Like my legs were brutal, like could barely like run for a full game. And once I changed my diet and started focusing on like real whole foods and, incorporating just like basic like vitamins and things like that, I felt like a different person. And I just try and go off of how I feel, not so much like calories, how I look type thing.
Yeah.
Yep, that is huge. I mean, I love Jif, but recently.
Oh, come on.
I haven't done it in a while. Honestly, my favorite honey roasted peanut butter is that's the sauce right there. That's the best stuff.
Yeah.
I guess in terms of like your athletic career from beginning to now, are there any regrets you have in your career, whether it was like a bad investment of time, some energy, or just like your attention elsewhere? Is there any sort of regrets? Obviously, you're at the peak of your sport. Was there anything that you could look back on and say, I should have done better here?
As a player?
As a player, yeah, just athlete growing up.
Yeah, I mean, like I said 1,000 times, like I never regretted not putting in enough work. Like as a college player. My last game, we lost to UNC. It was probably my best game of my career, honestly. And we were losing by like 5 or 6. And even in that moment, like, you kind of know you're not going to win when there's 3 minutes left on the clock and you're down by 6. But like, even in that moment, I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm going to play till the final whistle. Like, I'm going to give it my all. Like, that's what, like, I deserve and what my team deserves. And that's the same kind of thing I did off the field. Was like, after practice, I'm like, I should just get a couple more reps in. Like, maybe these couple of reps is going to make me play better in the game, tomorrow. So in that sense, I never had regret that I didn't do enough or didn't, try and be the best. I think, personally and personal issues, just sometimes like not putting my full focus, if I'm at practice and I'm thinking about other things that were distracting me. I definitely regret that, like personal things kind of affecting me in the moment and kind of, steering away from what the actual focus was, whether it was in practice or lift or like team bonding. Like there was a lot of times where I wasn't fully there due to other things. And that I completely regret, because I never like was fully like in the moment, or in practice, maybe I didn't give it my all or didn't fully focus for those, 2 hours, or I wasn't being a good teammate that day because of, side distractions that don't mean anything now. So I think that just getting caught up in things that didn't matter when, you're supposed to kind of be living in the moment and focusing on what's in front of you. So I think that would probably be my only regret.
Yeah, sorry, Connor. That's something I've kind of like thought about with this stuff that we haven't really talked about, is just like how like things outside of lacrosse can like benefit you. If you're doing well outside of lacrosse, that can like benefit your confidence and just how you do on the field, and kind of vice versa. If things are going well on the field or bad on the field, can kind of affect you poorly on the other side of things. When you talk about those personal things and it's kind of your regret now where you're at now, do you have any techniques, tools, or habits or anything like that you kind of use to help shut that stuff off, or just kind of help yourself deal with it more now that you're aware of that stuff, and just any mentality stuff or just habits, tools that you kind of do to help yourself that way?
Yeah. My biggest thing that actually I started my senior year of college, because that was when I was like really not fully there, was journaling. I would just write everything out and just like get it all out, like address it and then move on. And so journaling's been a big thing. I still do it now. And then the other thing, again, is the affirmations. Like it doesn't have to be, on the field or sports related. Kind of just talking to myself and just saying like, you're fine. Like whatever it is, like you have a great life or you have great family, like anything to kind of get me back to that center focus and, what actually matters and what's important in my life, kind of just grounds me and gets me back to where I need to be when I, go where I don't want to go.
Yeah.
100%. I think we all have those times. I think I did that yesterday. The affirmations. You got to list those things every now and then.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess during these times we talked about in the beginning, and I've sort of been reaching out to a bunch of kids, whether they're on the side of not being recruited, on the side of like being heavily recruited. Are there any, I don't want to like have you say anything because you're a coach, but is there anything like tips that you sort of learn from and that you tell people growing up?
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like I keep going back to this, is just like the constant, working hard and dedicating yourself to whatever it is that you want to, be good at. Obviously in our case, it's lacrosse, and what you're just saying is getting recruited. The other thing I tell my, kids who need advice, whether it's with tryouts or, getting recruited, anything along those lines, is just like, be confident, be yourself. Don't play scared. I think that's like the biggest thing that I see with kids is like, they're so scared of the failure that they just don't play to the best of their ability. And I think that goes like, that circles back to that mental aspect of the game. Like, you know, even in tryouts, my sister and I are completely different. Like, she's that shy, scared to fail, like timid, you know, didn't put herself out there type of person. I was always just like, F it. Like, what do I have to lose? And I try and teach my kids to kind of have that mentality, even if they're not that type of, even if they don't have that type of personality. I feel like when you're playing and on the field, you can kind of be whoever you want to be. And, you know, I just always say to, you know, like, go as hard as you can. You have absolutely nothing to lose. And that goes back to, you know, having no regret with how you're playing. You never want to walk off the field or out of a tryout saying like, oh, I wish I'd done that, or I could have done that, or, you know, I could have ran to that ground ball. Like, there's literally been times in games where I'm like, I really don't want to get that ground ball. And I'm like, no, like, you'll regret this later. And I'll, like, even if I know I'm not going to get it, I'm still going to try. Right. And I kind of, that's what I tell my kids. It's like, just try, like, do the best you can, be confident while you do it, and just don't walk off the field with having any regret. So, and be a good teammate.
When you kind of decided on going to Florida, like not a blue blood lacrosse school, what kind of went into that decision for you? And just with looking back at how everything went, how was your just overall experience, and how would you kind of define success based on your experience at Florida? Like, I'm sure your ultimate goal was to hopefully bring a national championship to Florida, but without that happening and like not getting every single win that you wanted, how would you kind of define success?
Yeah, so I was getting recruited like at the same time as my sister before this rule was even a thing. I was actually kind of just tagging along with her visit. So I went to Syracuse, Duke, UNC, and Florida. And I got to Florida and I absolutely hated it. It was my first school I visited, so I had no idea what I was looking for. And I was like, oh my God, I hate this. Like, I'm never coming here. Visit all the other schools, circled right back to Florida. I was like, Florida's amazing. It has everything I could ask for. I just didn't realize, because I've never seen another college before. So when you start to, you know, see other campuses and compare and contrast and, you know, the likes and dislikes, pros and cons, Florida was definitely that school. And then I think, honestly, the deciding factor is my sister committed there. And I wanted to play with her in college, even though she didn't want to play with me. So that was the deciding factor of getting to Florida. Another reason really why I wanted to go there was because they never won a national championship. They were a fairly new program, but they were doing so well. They had so much success at such, you know, a short time frame. So I was like, I want to be a part of something different and new, and I want to be a part of a team that wins the first national championship. I was never really a follower or wanted to kind of just like walk in someone's footsteps. I always kind of wanted to be my own person and kind of make my own legacy type deal. So I didn't want to go to, you know, like, no disrespect to them, but Northwestern, you know, Maryland, like, these are all these schools that won 1,000 national championships. And I wanted to kind of make my own name and, you know, make Florida its own name. So that was definitely like a huge deciding factor for me. And then when I got to Florida, obviously we didn't win a national championship, but, you know, the success that I've had just like as a player, like the amount I've grown and, you know, the leadership roles and the responsibilities that I've taken on, has completely shaped me into such a more mature, respected person, I would say. Even just from like my freshman year of college to my senior year, like I'm a completely different player. Like, my whole outlook on the game changed so much. I was a captain my junior and senior year. So I took on that leadership role like pretty early on. And it kind of just made me see the game and see my teammates differently and realize that I have such a different role than just scoring goals. Like, I barely scored my senior year, and I'm completely fine with it. It was just I was taking on different responsibilities and, you know, kind of stepping back from what everybody could do and doing things that everyone couldn't do to kind of fill that role as a player. And I feel like that's such a big part of the game is, you know, realizing what roles and what shoes to fill and what the team needs, not what you want. I mean, obviously everybody wants to be a tournament finalist and win a national championship and, and so on and so forth. But for me, I kind of accepted that I probably wasn't going to be that type of player. And I took on different roles and responsibilities to better my team. And kind of just like didn't sit back, but kind of took on the team as like my responsibility and let my teammates kind of, go off in the sense of, being the most successful on the team type deal. And, we won our conference every year, got 4 rings, so it was great. We had plenty of success, but I mean, my personal goal obviously, didn't happen, but you realize there's a lot of different forms of success when you're a college player.
Yeah.
No doubt.
All right, so we got like 10 minutes left with Connor to kind of wrap up a little bit. So we'll get you with a couple quick hitters here to wrap up. What's been your biggest positive takeaway from coronavirus times?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think focusing on myself a little bit more and bettering me as a person and as a coach. I've taken on reading, meditation, lots of podcasts about, I'm huge. I'm just realizing this now. I'm huge on the mental side of the game. A bunch of like mental toughness podcasts. And then just kind of more like taking a step back and being in the moment. I'm such a go person, and it almost forced me to stop. And it made me crazy at first, and then I kind of embraced it. So, just taking time for myself and enjoying the moment and not just kind of not always being present.
Mm-hmm. If you could give one book as a gift to someone, what would it be?
John Gordon Training Camp. It's like super basic, but it's my favorite book.
What's your biggest takeaway from it?
How you approach yourself, and how you approach yourself and how you approach situations and adversity and things like that.
Favorite podcast?
I'm really into, what's his name? Paul, what's his name? Last name? Caterera. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Probably.
Wait, let me pull it up. I was just listening to it.
Is this mental toughness?
No, he's a Q's guy. Overtime with Paul
Carter.
Yeah, him.
Okay.
That's my favorite one right now. I've listened to like almost all of them.
Love it.
Interesting. Favorite purchase under $100 in recent memory that has brought you the most joy?
Favorite purchase?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like something small you've bought, that whether it's like a water bottle or something small that brings you a lot of bang for your buck in recent memory.
You guys are make fun of me. A jump rope.
Wow.
I
can stand behind that. That is a great one.
A jump rope. I became obsessed with jump roping over quarantine.
Yeah, I've been getting into jump roping lately. Been listening to this book called Spark, and it's all about how just physical activity helps your brain function and balances out the chemicals in your brain. And some of the people in the book talk about just jumping rope as a quick, just as opposed to jogging or something like that. So I've been
it's awesome.
Anything you want to possibly open to experimenting with in the future as something that could help you as an athlete or coach?
Meditating more.
Meditating? Do you do any meditating?
What'd you say?
Do you do any meditating?
I did a little bit because we taught our girl, some guy came and talked to our players about it, and Gary does it all the time, every single morning. And I know it would help me so much as a person and a player and a coach. So I need to get into it more. I've tried once or twice, and I've honestly given up. which I shouldn't, but
Yeah.
that's my one thing.
Give me both.
Favorite, most valuable social media account you follow that you extract the most value out of as either nutrition, athletics, just motivation?
Yeah. She's a dietitian, does workouts. Rachel Good Eats.
Rachel Good Eats.
Yeah, you should follow her.
All right, I'm gonna give her a follow.
Yeah, she's awesome.
John
All right,
Gordon
and then
has
last
some
one.
great-
What'd you say,
John
Connor?
Gordon has some great Monday morning tweets. John Gordon.
Oh, I love Monday Motivation. I love those.
That's some good ones.
He's great.
All right, and then last one. If you could put something on a billboard for billions of people to see every single day, or a quote or something like that, what would you put on the billboard?
I don't know. I don't go by quotes.
Be a
Picture could be anything. Billboard.
yeah. Everyone in the world's gonna see it. You gotta put something on there.
I guess my dog.
We've gotten dogs almost.
Yeah.
That's the cop out.
That's a tough question.
It's tough. It's deep.
That's an interesting
Yeah.
one though.
Yeah.
All right, Connor.
Yeah, this was great. Honestly, a lot of good stories, a lot of good insights too. Thanks for diving deep on a couple of those, so I appreciate that. And
Yeah.
I know this has been honestly a long time coming, this podcast. So
I know. Well, we've
Yeah.
been trying for like 3 months now.
it's been all of quarantine, but yeah.
Yeah, literally.
So, but thanks again, and wish you the best of luck, and definitely stay in
guys.
touch here.
Yeah, thanks. I had a blast.
Thank you.
All right, I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, I'll
See you.
talk later.
Bye.
Bye.